How to stay disciplined and complete all tasks effortlessly. Have you ever had one of those days where your to-do list is staring at you like a judgmental cat, and yet, somehow, you end up watching 3 hours of videos about ancient civilizations, cleaning the fridge, or alphabetizing your spice rack? Yeah, we've all been there. Discipline isn't just some magical trait reserved for monks and Navy SEALs. It's something anyone, yes, anyone, can build. And no, it doesn't have to feel like you're dragging yourself through the mud just to get things done. Imagine being the kind of person who knocks out their tasks, stays focused, and still has time and energy left over to enjoy life. That's what this is about. In this video, we're going to unpack exactly how to stay disciplined, and not in a harsh, hustle-all-day way. We're talking about a smarter, lighter approach, one that actually works with your brain, not against it. You're going to learn how to train your focus, follow through on your goals, and stop falling into that all-too-familiar trap of procrastination. Because the truth is, discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about creating systems that make it easier to do the right thing than to bail. And today we're going to explore a simple but powerful framework for getting things done with way less effort than you probably think is possible. Here's how we're going to break it down. We'll look at what's really blocking your discipline. And it's not laziness, I promise. Then we'll dive into the 3 core parts of real discipline: momentum, clarity, and reward. Stick with me because each part has practical takeaways you can use today. Not next month, not after you've read 5 more books on productivity. Right now. So let's start with something we all experience: the mental tug-of-war between what we want to do and what we know we should be doing. You wake up and think, today's the day I get everything done. But then the dopamine hits from scrolling, texting, snacking. They win. Why? Because your brain isn't wired for discipline. It's wired for survival, for comfort, for avoiding effort. That doesn't mean you're doomed. It just means we need to outsmart the autopilot. Let me tell you about Jess. Jess is a writer who used to struggle every single day with consistency. She knew what she needed to do, but distractions always won. Then one day, instead of trying to overhaul everything at once, she made one tiny change. She set a timer for just 5 minutes every morning to write. That's it, 5. But she did it every day. And that's where the first core principle kicks in. Momentum beats motivation. You don't wait to feel ready. You just start. Even if it's small, even if it's sloppy. Because once you're in motion, everything else gets easier. That 5 minutes turned into 10, then 20, then full writing sessions. All because she learned that starting is the hardest part, not finishing. You don't need to force yourself to do 100 things. You just need to build a habit of starting and trust that momentum will carry you further than willpower ever could. And here's something wild. Researchers have found that the simple act of beginning a task reduces anxiety. Once your brain sees that a task is underway, it eases up on the resistance. You shift from, I can't do this, to, oh, I'm already doing it. So if you're stuck in that loop of putting things off, try this. Pick one task you've been avoiding and do just 2 minutes of it. Literally 2. Write the first sentence, open the email, sketch the outline. Because the moment you begin, you're training your brain to see action as the path of least resistance. And once you've got that momentum, that's when you can start layering in clarity, which is what we'll dive into next. Because discipline without clarity is like trying to hit a target you can't even see. So once you've got a little momentum going, even just 2 or 5 minutes of showing up, the next thing you need is clarity. Think of momentum as your fuel, but clarity is your steering wheel. Without it, you might be driving fast, but in the wrong direction. Now be honest. How many times have you sat down to work and thought, okay, let's do this, only to immediately ask yourself, wait, what am I actually supposed to be doing right now? That's the trap. You want to be productive, but your brain is foggy, overwhelmed, or bouncing between 100 half-formed thoughts. That's not a discipline issue, that's a clarity issue. The fix? You've got to make your tasks so painfully clear that your brain has nothing to negotiate with. Here's what I mean. Instead of saying, I need to work on that project, say, I'm going to spend 20 minutes organizing the first section of that project outline. Instead of saying, I have to clean, say, I'm going to clear off the kitchen counter and wipe it down. When your brain knows exactly what to do and exactly how long it's going to take, the resistance drops like a stone. You're not lazy, you're just unclear. Let me tell you about Malik, a college student I spoke with recently. Super ambitious guy, had big goals, but he was constantly spinning his wheels. He'd block out time to study or work on his business, but then he'd sit there scrolling TikTok or reorganizing his desk for the 10th time. So I asked him one question: what exactly does study mean to you? He paused and realized he had no idea. It was just a vague word he was using to feel productive. Once he started breaking it down, read 5 pages of chapter 3, write flashcards for key terms, review quiz questions from last week, boom. He started actually doing the work. His stress went down, his confidence went up, and he started getting things done faster and more consistently than ever. So here's a super simple thing you can try right after this video. Before you start any task, ask yourself this one question: what does done look like? Not perfect, not exhaustive, just done. That question alone can clear 70% of the mental fog you're probably fighting through every day. Now you've got momentum, you've got clarity, but we're missing one more thing. And without it, discipline turns into a grind really fast. It's the part most people ignore, but it's crucial if you want to stay consistent for more than a few days. So how do you build that in? It doesn't have to be anything huge. Maybe it's 10 minutes of your favorite show after finishing a task. Maybe it's getting outside for some fresh air after 2 hours of focused work. For some people, just checking a box or crossing something off a list can trigger a mini dopamine hit. The key is to tie your effort to a tiny feeling of satisfaction. There was this guy, Noah, who used to dread doing taxes. Every year he'd push it off, stress himself out, and then crash through it all in one awful weekend. Until one year he made a deal with himself. For every 30 minutes of tax prep, he'd get to play one round of his favorite video game, guilt-free. And guess what? He finished his taxes early for the first time in his life and enjoyed the process. All because he gave his brain something to look forward to. That's not cheating. That's smart. That's how you make discipline sustainable. So by now you can probably see how this all ties together. First, you get into motion, even just a little. Then you clear the fog so you know exactly what you're doing. And finally, you make it worth it. You attach a bit of joy so your brain actually wants to repeat the process again tomorrow. It's not about grinding harder. It's about setting up your day in a way that makes follow-through feel natural, even enjoyable. And in the final part of this video, we're going to zoom out a little, because the ultimate discipline comes when these tiny habits form a system that runs almost on autopilot. That's where it gets effortless, and that's where we're heading next. Here's something no one tells you about discipline. The most successful, productive people aren't necessarily the ones with the strongest willpower. They're the ones with the best systems. They've designed their environment and routines in a way that removes friction and reduces decision fatigue, so that being disciplined doesn't require a heroic effort every single time. Let's be real. Willpower is not infinite. It runs out. And if you have to rely on it constantly to make yourself do the right thing, you're going to burn out or give up. The key is to make the disciplined choice the easiest choice. For example, think about brushing your teeth. You probably don't debate it or procrastinate on it. You don't have a motivational speech with yourself in the mirror every night, like, "Come on, man, you've got this. Just 2 minutes of focus." No, you just do it. Why? Because it's part of your routine. It's automatic. It's built into your day, and you don't question it. That's the goal with tasks, habits, and routines. To shift from effort to automatic, from forcing it to flowing with it. Let me tell you about Sonia, a full-time mom who also runs a small business from home. For a while, she was in constant survival mode, juggling kids, clients, and chores, and nothing felt consistent. She'd try productivity hacks, wake up early, make giant to-do lists, but nothing stuck. Then she made a simple change. Instead of trying to do everything all at once, she blocked her day into small, focused zones: mornings for client calls, early afternoons for deep work, evenings for family, and Sunday nights for planning the week ahead. No more guesswork, no more "what should I do now?" chaos, just structure. Within a month, not only was she getting more done, she was actually enjoying her work again. The stress eased up. The constant guilt faded. And the best part? She didn't feel like she was fighting herself anymore. She just followed the rhythm she'd created. That's the power of designing your system. And that's where discipline turns into freedom. Because here's a little mindset shift that can change everything. Discipline isn't about restriction, it's about liberation. It's not about controlling every moment of your day. It's about building habits that free you up to live your life more fully. When you've got a system in place, when you know what to do and when to do it, your brain relaxes. Your energy goes up. You stop wasting time on indecision and start spending more time in action. Now, one last thing before we wrap. Don't expect perfection. That's where a lot of people get tripped up. They start strong, miss a day or two, and then feel like they've failed. But real discipline isn't about never slipping. It's about bouncing back, quickly, without the guilt spiral. So if you miss a task, cool. Reset. If you have a messy day, fine. Tomorrow's a new one. That's part of the system too. Building in grace. You're not a robot. You're a human being building something sustainable. Let's recap this the way a good coach would. Not with pressure, but with encouragement. Start small, just get in motion. Get clear. Define your tasks so there's no wiggle room. Reward yourself. Make discipline feel good, not punishing. Design your system, reduce friction, and set routines that support you. And give yourself the grace to be human, not perfect. If you take even one of these to heart today, you'll already be ahead of where you were yesterday. And if you apply them all consistently, you're going to look back a few months from now and wonder how you ever lived any other way. So if this resonated with you, drop a comment below and let us know what your biggest challenge with discipline has been. Or better yet, what small win you've had lately. We love hearing your stories, and you might just inspire someone else watching this. Don't forget to hit that like button if you found this helpful, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you never miss a new video designed to help you think better, grow faster, and live smarter. You've got everything you need to become the most focused, disciplined, and free version of yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be consistent, and you've already started. Keep going, you're doing great.